Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux, and we have another supporter stream here today. Whoa, I'm just doing all sorts of bad stuff here. I almost clicked the stop streaming button. That'd suck. All right, well, my voice is almost back. Feels it's like works better earlier in the morning than late at day right now, and so I'll try and knock out a Saturday video tomorrow. My Tux Traveler's already queued. If you didn't catch the crab dinner today on Acadia Beach, I mean, it was an epic little YouTube short, like 23-second YouTube short. So,
are you gonna do the news tomorrow night?
Yes, we will do the news tomorrow night. We'll figure it out. We might be a little raspy, but we got to do the news. I only miss it if there's weird times, like I'm traveling or at camp or weird things like that. So, but yeah, anyway, yeah. So we will get the news done. I got the news lined up. I just need to set it all up here tonight, and I need to work on a few other little odds and ends. I was not sure if I would turn that on or not, but we're going to go ahead and turn it on because I closed the door because the sun is shining right across that back door there. Well, how's everybody doing today?
I'm good. Much better.
Fine.
All right. We got a good, we got a fine, and we got a no response, right?
Yeah, I'm having, I'm sick on the fourth day, so and it's getting a little better. But
so half of us are sick. Oh, the Die Master says I sound like the Godfather. I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse. We need Toss over here with his caddy. Someone called Total OS today. I need that guy. He's got connections to the Godfather. All right.
Oh boy.
So anyway, I will attempt to mute when I need to cough up a lung. Sorry to the Jitsi guys. I may not be able to mute everything. I'll just get one quick. Anyway. So our topic today is, should we convert our friends? I'm going to start in by having a look at the comments. If anybody sees any comments you specifically want to watch, we'll start with those, and then we will answer any comments and stuff near the end. After
It should be, can you convert any of your friends?
Can you convert? There's another good question. That's going to be one of the challenges we have. Been on Linux almost a year. Most people that just use Windows, they don't care about privacy. They don't care about anything as long as it works. In gaming, there are so many people who use NVIDIA. Yep. So many games that neither have their own client or are Windows only. And convert subhumans into humans again. I mean, maybe. If we can convert the subhumans back into humans, that would be a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Am I in focus too? I forgot to check my camera focus. All right, I think I'm good. I can't do autofocus because the autofocus, let me put on autofocus for a second. Turning on autofocus gives you this block. I'm always in focus, but you can kind of see me.
Yeah, I remember one of your daily walk videos when you used to have a flat. You were for a period. You walked out into the woods somewhere, and it would always change every second or every other second or so between your face and the forest in the background.
Yeah, depending on what's going on. What I should do when I'm recording that with a DSLR is I should focus it and turn it off autofocus. Is what I should do on those. So, and I have a lot of cool ideas to do, and I'm trying to put a lot of videos in the queue on all the different channels, which was working, except I had that and then I was off a whole week from camp, and so I exhausted most of those, and then so there's a bunch of weird things, but we're going to get to that so that you guys that are supporters, I'm going to be able to release some videos earlier because I think we're going to turn on channel memberships on YouTube. They've been whining about that for a while. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on. If you're a diehard YouTube fan and you want to keep watching and support directly on YouTube, because we have some ability to turn that on. I just haven't because you got to spell out everything so much more detail, and so I've been working with somebody
join button.
Yeah, that's the join button. So we already have.
I never commit to that.
Yeah, we already have the tip button. We got that about 6 months ago, where we got the tip button on there. But I had been eligible for the join memberships for almost 2 years now, and I just never bothered setting it up yet. But I'm working on some back end things on the channel to bring it back up, and that's going to include the join memberships.
A lot of people are hesitant to use the join button because they feel like they're making a commitment, like they're getting married.
Correct. And that is a challenge. And I recognize a lot of people don't want to do that. And so, there's no pressure to do that. I'm keeping all of the, every perk would be the same, whether you're on Think Life Media, which right now completely sucks. I hate it. I want to burn it with fire until I get a better platform working on it. But I just don't have the time to commit to it right now. Patreon and Subscribestar. I want everything's the same so you can support any way you want. But that's kind of what I'm working on in the background, and I have the things I'm going to put together. It's sitting down and do it because I just got back from camp. I'm a week behind on everything, and I'm signing somebody onto a science fiction novel, so I need to get the contracts out for that and get that guy in the grind root wheel as well. So needless to say, I'm a little busy, and I'm right at that point. I want to hire an assistant soon. I'm just right at that point where I need to hire an assistant, but I don't have the funds yet. And it's that I got to cross that threshold to hire the assistant to make sure the funds are in place. And so that's kind of where I'm at, which is always an interesting place to be. I should go on like Fiverr or something and find somebody cheap and just pass off the little small stuff unless somebody really wants to do that kind of stuff, But anyway, understatement, Windows 8.1, the Android of all Windows. Too bad a smartphone worked better. I like the Windows Phone, actually. Too bad it was extraordinarily buggy, but it had the best concept for phones. Worst concept for phones was when BlackBerry decided to try and do like an Android-type system. That thing was horrible.
Yeah, I used to have a couple of BlackBerries even before.
Yeah, you had the hard key ones, though, right?
Yeah, I had the nice QWERTY keyboards.
Yeah, so after the hard key ones went out and smartphones, Android and iPhone came out, they created a operating system that was like Android. It might have been based on Android. I don't know. And they only ran it on like 2 or 3 models. It was so bad they stopped running it. I like the phone, but it's just like the thing somehow nuked the entire contact list from Verizon's cloud. I go to Verizon, I'm like, what happened? Like, we have no idea. So fortunately, I always kept the dumb phones around, which had all the contacts on the SIM cards. So I brought an old SIM card into Verizon, and they were able to take that and restore everything from the old card. Of course, you couldn't do that anymore, but that was kind of a weird transitional time in phones, but it was interesting.
A friend of mine, she have a backup of her contact list on paper. She always writes them down on paper because she doesn't trust any storage media to not lose it.
What I do is I use Nextcloud for the basic storage, and then I download the contact list as a as eCard. Do I use an eCard or XML? I put it into one of the K apps, which is really good for managing contacts on a computer. So I always have like 4 different versions, like 4 of them. Fortunately, I don't update things a whole lot. The Die Master wants to know, what is a Rolodex? Somebody mentioned Rolodex up there. I saw it. So a Rolodex was a little card file. We had these little things called cards. I actually have a few down here. Sorry, they have Greek words on them, but index cards. And then you put little dots, and then it would have this be on the spinny file. You can spin it around and find the contact list, and then you'd see the number, and you could pick up this antiquated thing that was kind of like these smartphones, only they had wires. They were connected to the wall, and you couldn't walk around with them. You have to push these buttons or even spin this dial, and then hold it up like this, and then you could talk to people. It was kind of interesting. So that's what a Rolodex did. It was like the old your old contacts list in your phone. It was just on paper. Yeah. And a friend of mine, I didn't have a chance. He just texted me a minute ago. My friend down in Star City there, just created a YouTube channel. He's doing I think he's doing like some vintage car or old car stuff. So if anybody's interested in that, I'll see if he's watching. I'll get him to jump on and drop a link if you're into that kind of stuff. Let me tell him streaming now. drop the link to your channel. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you go check it out. I think he has mostly YouTube shorts on there right now. But there's a few larger videos. I just got a chance to watch one of them. All right. Good evening, all lovers of the Gwyn, the penguin. That's right. Get your Linux on. Whoa, super chat from Dan Kelly. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know. I haven't been very supportive in the last few months because I had to go to physical therapy, and I've been in and out of doctor's offices and all that other stuff. But
well, I hope you're getting better.
I don't know. I don't even care anymore.
Yeah, that's the point in time. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard going and talking to those doctors, man, because half the time you don't know do they just want another Corvette payment or are they actually doing anything good,
you know, I go and see one, and my primary doctor don't do nothing for you. He farms you out to a specialist. Well, I can find my own darn specialist.
Yeah, it's like, hey, go on over here and go on over here and go see my friend because he's behind on that car payment. That's Fresh Vintage just jumped on in the chat. You can have a look at his channel over there. That's the one I was just talking about. So you can find his username. I think you can right-click on his username. What can you do? Oh, it's the 3 dots over there. Click the 3 dots. You can click to go to the channel if you want to see what he's up to. All right. So let's get into this topic. Should we convert our friends? Can we convert our friends? That's another one we were talking about, right? So let's start with the should question before the can question. The can question is pretty easy. Once you decided that you should tie him up, kidnap him, just like the old school conversion therapy, and lock him in a room till he... No, don't do that. That'd be bad. We're not endorsing such things. But let's talk about should we convert our friends to Linux. And this came from one of the videos I did the other day. Somebody jumped on saying, I'm the Linux evangelist trying to get all my friends over there. And somebody else says, why it's so hard and all this kind of things. And there's a little debate going on in the comments section there. And I thought that's a good topic. So what do you guys think? Should we convert our friends to Linux? Ivan, what do you think first?
Well, I think it's like, considering all of the mainstream OSs out there, a couple of the biggies, I think it's something where it would have to be something that's almost kind of like a case-by-case basis. It's like, you talk to an individual, you kind of see what their use case would be, and then kind of figure out in your own head on how you should proceed to bring them across. I've got somebody that I know, he's a DJ, and he loves the idea of Linux and stuff like that, but his first question to pop out of his mouth is iTunes, and I just automatically, just without a thought, just go, you want a Mac? And I'm just like, just for the sake of the troll,
Yeah.
Like, and he's been on it for so long.
Yeah, and that's the one factor is some people, though, get so caught into the fact, well, I have to use iTunes. Do you have to use iTunes? Or do you just have to have a good way to manage media? Because I got news for you. Linux manages media infinitely better than anything Apple can come close to doing.
Yeah,
I have to use iTunes for my iPhone. It works perfectly fine in a virtual machine with Windows. VirtualBox will pass through to your phone or whatever.
Yeah, well, not only that, but you can manage media really well. Now, the problem is if you have to be in that Apple ecosystem, Apple is going to do a little bit better job at that. But if you're just talking about basic media management, you can do that kind of stuff. Now, is that something, can you or should you try and convince him of that? That's a different question to have. So, yeah, and everybody's use case is different. So we can't be so hard on people who want to stay on Windows or Mac or have to for some reason, one way or the other.
Even Richard Stallman says that there are people who can't just convert on a fly from using Windows and then switch everything onto Linux. So even he suggested that for some people, the proper way to do would be to replace one program at a time. And then when you have replaced everything but the operating system, then the next obvious step is to replace the operating system.
Yep. Yeah, that's my approach. And should you move him in that direction or not? What do you think?
Yeah, we should convert try and convert them to using Linux.
Okay.
Linux, because it's the same with other things that people should do. People should exercise, even though most people don't. And
That's valid.
but there is a difference between we should convert them and are we going to? Because there are some people who have already made up their minds, and they should respect their choice and just leave them.
Yeah, it's kind of like the body positivity folk. Should they exercise? Absolutely. Should they be promoting to engage in diseases that every medical community for all time is recognized as dangerous and problematic? No, they shouldn't be endorsing that. Are we ever going to change our mind? No. Dan, what do you think? Should we convert our friends or not?
I think so, especially when the opportunity arises, and it comes in many ways. I have a cousin that actually, his computers, some of them have gotten so old they don't run modern Windows no more. If you don't have a computer that runs modern Windows, you don't have a safe, and secure web browser or any of that stuff. So he was more open to having Linux put on his machine because he could get to the outside world safely with the Firefox browser and use some of the tools in it. Now, for some of my other friends, if they're curious about it, like if their machines get kind of old and they're going to buy a new one, I told them, well, don't throw out the old one. I want you to try something. Matter of fact, just hang on to it. And if I know them good enough, I'll give them one of my old laptops with peppermint on it. As Lord knows, I got tons of them all over the place here. They're ganging up on me. Try this for a week or two, get the feel for it, learn how it works and stuff like that, and see if you like it. And if you like it, we'll take your old laptop you're going to pitch in the landfill and we'll rejuvenate it. If it's got a DVD player or something like that on it, Linux will make that work too. And that's a thing that's starting to come to pass, is finding hardware that plays DVDs. You don't want to just throw that out.
Right.
So that's the approach I would take. I would, yes, we should try to convert our friends, but do it in a subtle way where they're not feeling they're obligated to keep it.
And that might be the big problem.
Also recognize there is a time and place for when you should advocate using Linux, and there are time and place which is most times that you should not. Because if all you talk about is they should switch to Linux, then they are not going to hear anything you say.
Well, it's kind of, in my opinion, should we convert our friends? I think that our friends should know what we use and why we use it, and that why is so much better than you need to change your operating system because Windows is stupid. That's a bad answer. It's a bad way to go. You should be like, I use Linux because Windows does a lot of spying on people. It deletes your files. It can delete your programs if they don't think you should have it. I just want more control over an operating system. And then when you're over at their house, you bring your laptop and they can see you every single time you're on your laptop and everything's working great for you. They'll be like, so this is working, huh? It's almost like this. If I can be, we're not going to get religious here, but I'm going to get tangential to it. It's like preaching your religion to your buddies. If every conversation is about religion, you're going to lose your friends. You don't want to do that. It's foolish. And if it's you got to do this because it's better, nobody's going to do it. You got to sell that reason why. What is so important?
Not only that, they go out and buy that new gaming rig, and you convince them to keep their old rig and put Linux on it. Well, their gaming rig is updating Windows. They could watch a movie in the DVD player.
Yeah. Or what we did
on the laptop.
On my friend's computer, we built him one right before I left town here, and we put an icy dock in his, because he got it to play games with friends online, but he doesn't like Windows all the time. So he boots into Windows to play his games, and he boots into Linux for other things. Including music production stuff. He does musician stuff, and he does all his music production on Linux. He does not like the workflow of other applications other than LMMS. Fresh Vintage giving $20 super chat. Thank you for that, man. Fiverr money. All right, I must be obligated to go hire the assistant now, so I'll go look into it this week. Which is good. I have this I have a pile of things over here from the conference that I have to get integrated into my workflow. I just came back from the conference. I had 1 week, and then I went back to camp. And I got news for you. Working the kitchen in a camp feeding 40 people is tiring. It was like crazy. I thought I would have a little bit more time, and I did not. And then, like, was it Thursday, I think? They're like, hey, I heard you can do like videos. I'm like, yeah, I can do videos. I was up until like 2 a.m. or something on Thursday. No, it was Friday night, I think, working on the video for it. I don't know if it's online yet. Let me see. If it's publicly online, I'll go ahead and show it. Let's do, just go youtube.com. Let's do it on over here. All right, somebody talk while I look into this here. Okay, so let's start the next line of questioning. You guys can do that while I'm searching for this up. Can we convert our friends? All right, Ivan, what do you think?
Yeah, I certainly, like myself, I certainly can do it because I've got the knowledge, I've got the resources to do that. So it's like if someone goes, "Hey, I'd like to give this a try. Can you kind of guide me in that direction?" and stuff like that, I'd be like, "Yeah, not a problem. Just give me 10 minutes and I'll show you." And I'll just throw a live, just take a live key and throw it in the machine and say, "All right, boom, boom, boom," throw it up, show what's going on in there, and show them what's going on. And when we're all done, I'll just say, "Yeah, but don't worry, your machine is still there. Watch this." Just boom, pop, and boot, and there it is. And it's like I can do it. Yeah, it's just like I just need to find somebody where that would allow me to do that, for one, and where they actually want to take, for lack of a better term, take the dive into it for something like that. But like Dan was saying about having a spare machine or something like that they can play around on and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely.
If you can stop them from pitching their old machine because it just is old, we now have Peppermint now has a DevOne version. It is extremely fast. It works great on ancient hardware, 15 years old.
There you go.
The DevOne version doesn't use System D, it uses SysV.
Yeah, so it's like whenever, it's like, let's say if my brother goes, "Hey, I want to happen to try Linux," then yeah, I'll probably take that approach. Say, "Well, let me show you on a machine, and then I can show you on your machine, and you can play with one or both of whatever's, and here, keep this USB key, and you can play with it. And if you want to borrow this laptop, then here, take that and use it for however long, and move forward. And if you want to take the next step and actually go the route of actually taking an actual machine and getting it all set up, great. I can guide you in that direction on steps on how to move forward with it." So, So for my own particular case, yeah, I could do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Solly, what do you think? Do you have any luck?
Yeah, I have converted the 2 persons by doing nothing really. No, 3 persons. The first one is the friend who have this big radar that I've been talking about a couple of times. I got to know him in the summer of 2000 on IRC, and we've been friends ever since. And the next year or so, I sent him a copy of us, or that's, I don't remember exactly, but around 2000, 2001, I sent him a CD of Core Linux 1.2, which turned out to be the last version they made, but that's another story. And he loved it so much that he went to high school, I think, the step after regular school, because they had an old ESDN router that was terrible. It was it kept dropping the lines and so on. So he managed to convince the principal to install that on a separate machine to install Linux. And so he used a week installing Slackware on the thing. So he would boot the Slackware installer, and when he got to a point where he couldn't figure something out, so he had another computer where he moved the cable, moved it to the other machine, and dialed up again, and so on. And that system ran for a little over 400 days, well after he left school.
Oh, there you go.
And he said the only thing he didn't manage to figure out was the dial on demand, and specifically to shut down the line when it was not in use. So he had dual ISDN connection 24/7 for a year and a half, and the school's phone bill skyrocketed. But the principal was happy because suddenly the internet was stable.
Yeah, that's good. All right, Dan, what do you think? You have luck?
I have those that I have converted, and then I have those that are too old to convert. They don't want to change.
Can't take it, you old dog, new tricks.
Yeah, that scenario, because they're so used to Windows 10 that they just don't have an interest in it. I don't have time for that, But then I got others that use their computer for one thing only, and that's gaming. They turn it on, they game with it. Everything else they do on their phone.
Yeah,
so there's no in between from that. All I could tell them, well, I game on my machine too. And if they want to come over and look at it, yes, I have Steam installed. I have some of the top titles installed. It runs really great. Yes, I have NVIDIA 3080 Ti card, and it plays nice with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've I hope Selby's not dying over there. I mean, okay. You guys can't see him, but on screen he's doing all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Looked like me yesterday, So yeah, I mean, I've had my friends here. They have actually they're running the K word, the 4-letter K word that you can't say on YouTube, or you'll get banished to manage their media stuff. But they're running that on Endeavor OS, and basically that's the computer. It's attached to their computer or their TV. So all of their TV stuff that they watch, because all they do is stream things, everything they do is on Endeavor OS. So we got that one good, and then my other friend, of course, he does his music and stuff on Linux Mint and stuff like that. So. Yeah, I mean,
Linux works great for streaming too. If you don't want to buy a Roku box and you got a spare old computer laying around,
or a Raspberry Pi. If you're like, I want to get some. I don't want a smart TV, but I want to have some of these smart tangential items. Get a Raspberry Pi. With the Pi imager, you can just flash. You can flash Libre Elec on there. And that will do a lot of really cool things. So these are things to look into.
I tend to have people try and use what they already have instead of throwing it out.
And the advantage of doing what you're doing
now.
Yeah, the advantage of doing what you're doing is the Raspberry Pi does not easily run a web browser where you can run the web browser and go to YouTube. Whereas if you have just a spare computer laying around, that thing will run YouTube all day long.
Well, not just YouTube, but you can get it to run Netflix, Hulu, Paramount Plus, all the streaming services.
Yeah, and
will bypass buying a Roku.
Yes.
Or Pluto TV. You can go to their website and get that stuff too.
Yes, some of that you can get working with varying success on the Raspberry Pi, but but it's cheaper if you need to buy something extra. Look into the Pi option as well. Yeah. Jitsy's great for sharing.
I don't even use my TV anymore. Why power up a 500 plus watt 60-inch TV when I can grab my laptop, which is also 1080p, and lay down on the couch and just sit there and watch it on my laptop?
Yeah, let me
if I watch a movie or something.
Calculate real quick what the wattage is on these monitors, which I'm running 24-inch monitors, and I want to say they're 36 watts. I think that sounds about right. Which is not a lot.
I know the TV eats a considerable amount more power than a simple.
Well, the newer ones do consume quite a bit less, but it still is more per square inch than that. Let's see. Let's use. He almost got me to say the K word. I always use the K word. The interface is strange, not convenient. Well, you put a different skin on it. I hate the default skin inside of that K word app. It's kind of annoying. So I always just put another one. I use the one I like the most is Rapier. That's a really good theme. Although it does ping stuff online that I don't like, but I'm like, okay, it's worth it.
Yeah, there's just going off topic for a bit. As a non-US, non-American, it's I find it always funny when Americans talk about you can't say this or that word, but they don't actually spell out what word they're talking about. So the biggest example is so what I was thinking when you said that you cannot say the K word, I was thinking you can't say Kmart.
I mean, no, we can't anymore because it doesn't exist in the United States anymore. No. The K word is a popular open source media player that every single place that shows up on the Tubies, they completely demonetize it. It's funny because it's like those are some of the biggest videos I have on my channel consistently, and they always get demonetized. You're like, why?
It's a competitor to the P word.
Right. P word.
Yeah.
P blank 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 X.
Yeah, paper is bad.
Okay.
In fact, Edward James Olmos, who plays it down on Battlestar, his son's name is Bodhi, and it sounds similar to that.
Yeah. Check the chat. I typed the keyword in, the K word in. All right.
Yeah,
I see it.
Yeah.
The other example, just to finish, this my pet peeve. The most obvious, the most used word that they say they can't, you can't say anymore is the N word, and always in my head I hear, and I'm thinking, you can't say no anymore. So as a non-US, that's something we find a little funny, because in Norway there are a few words that we are not supposed to use anymore. But every discussion, even on public TV, they actually spell out the word that we're talking about and how it was used before, whereas how it is used now, and how words are used are changed over the years. So, as an example of the words change the meaning is in the 1500s when the King James Bible was written. There is a line in I don't remember the scripture, but it's talking about someone being so gay. Back in that day, that meant someone being happy. Obviously, today, no one who's using that word is talking about being happy.
I think it's back to being happy again. They got a bunch of letters they string together to make sure they include everybody.
Well, right now, I am reading Uncle Tom's Cabin. And Uncle Tom's Cabin, in addition to dropping the hard G N word several times, it's also full of literally cum and ejaculate, neither of which has to do with sex, because it's such an old book. The language has shifted that much. And this is like, we're going to ejaculate out of there. Like, what? First time I read that, I'm like, I've not seen that context before. So we're got to read the old books, if for nothing else, in the comedy factor of how we used to use language.
Yeah, what would be fun is what would be fun is launch a special channel for this testing, reading these old books with these old words. The old context, and see how long the channel lives before it is banned by.
Well, that's why I download them all as I find them online, the public domain ones, because man, they're gonna get memory hold, and so I'm keeping copies of them.
It seems like the smaller channels get flagged a lot worse than the larger channels do.
Yeah, if you're the larger channel, you have easier resources to deal with it. They use the F
word and everything else on there, and they never take the video down.
Yeah, and that's what makes it extraordinarily hard to break out of, and why they throttle down some of the smaller ones. let's see. First time I'm reading it. First time I'm reading it, actually. I did not get a chance to read a lot of old classic literature. We just didn't have the opportunities in where and how I grew up. And so with buying the Kindle to experiment with offline stuff and being in the van, I'm just going to read all these old things and not have to carry tons and tons of books around. And so, I have a whole list. I think after this, I'm going to read Huckleberry Finn and maybe The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, just to kind of stay in that era of literature for a little bit.
Yeah, I downloaded last year, I think, the Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn TV show that run in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
It was weird seeing it again, but it was a fun experience.
Yeah. We are so totally off topic. I don't even know if we can come back, but
yeah, I said I had converted 3 people. So the other one I converted. There's a friend of mine who lives by now 10 hours away.
Yeah, I mean it's. I guess the fundamental questions to summarize, and we're coming up to 8 anyway. So to summarize, I think the first factor is that we have to recognize not everybody has to switch. We may have seen some light of an element of privacy. There was a period of time I didn't know Windows did any better. It's kind of like this, okay? Where I can, I will buy farm fresh eggs. I like raw milk. I like raw eggs before commercial. The first time somebody gave me raw eggs, I threw them away because I brought into the old propaganda of, all the powers that be that, oh, these things are raw. They're just not healthy. They're dangerous. And so I'm like, oh, thank you. Smiled. And I tossed them away. I didn't want to eat them despite I eat a lot of eggs. And so, but it's just like, then I took the time and I went over and I talked to a farmer, and he walked me through his process. He showed me the chicken coop. He showed me the cows. He introduced me to his favorite cows that were in the barn. I got a chance to see the whole facility. I'm like, this is really good. And then he talks to me about, the benefits of raw milk over processed milk and things like this. And it's just like, okay, I'm converted. We got the information, but I had to get to the point where I had to move on to the point where I was ready to hear it. And that's how it is. We have to remember that as we are using Linux, because we know the dangers involved in using other operating systems, that the problems become that we look at it and we think that everyone else should know these things as well, and they don't. And they may not be ready to hear those things yet. Because think of it, every time you're trying to talk to your friend about Windows, just think about them raw eggs that they'd throw away if you handed it to them. Because they just don't understand. And that's the thing to keep in mind as we're talking to people. It's just be kind of fun, Why do all Linux reviewers only show wallpapers that try to install the NVIDIA driver or share a folder over network? They don't show how to solve real problems. All right, that's a good question. So depending on what you're doing, you may or may not be able to show how to install an NVIDIA driver because things don't work until you do. That's part of it. A lot of
these things don't apply if the guy is using a virtual machine.
Correct. Yeah, and then you have the virtual machine, and then other problems. It's like we do. Like I have one of my bigger videos is how to fix UEFI systems on a computer that does not have tools for that. There's a command line tool in most Linux repositories to manage all that stuff. So you can rewrite your UEFI partitions with a command tool in Linux, and I have a video about that came about because I was sick of the previous computer that I had this problem where it kept on rewriting some of the where the OSs are, and it was kind of annoying. And so I had to figure out how to do it, and I did videos on that. So yeah, we actually do solve real problems when we have a real problem. The problem is we don't have a ton of real problems. And then when you say, well, I'm having X problem, how do I solve it? We don't know unless we're looking at the hardware, because there's going to be a series of steps that we're going to do, and we can't walk you through a basic series of steps. We actually have to be looking at the problem right in our face. and that's kind of the issue. But and hopefully as we do distro reviews, we are providing more information than just wallpapers are. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, Linux has solved a lot of the problems these days.
If you go to a message board and ask for helps, if you've got real developers there at the message board that's helping people, they will ask you to run the INXI -FZX or something like that command, and it'll give the whole, from the terminal, it'll give a whole list of all the hardware your machine has got. You copy and paste that into the form so the guy that's helping you knows exactly what you have in your machine. He knows where to start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the way that people are responding in the forums have changed for the better in the last 20 years, because I still remember in the 2000s there was still the opinion of some people that when people, even when I asked how do you do this or that, in 70% of the replies people got was read the file manual, and then and in one of them I just got fed up and I said, yes, I will read that file manual if you could just tell me what file manual to read.
Yep.
Yeah. And for distribution, distro reviews, there is only so much that one person can show, and then some schmuck comes in and says, hey, I'm running a script and I want to know what's already pre-written for running in a backdoor into a Cylon Baystar defense grid. But it's like, that's not always available. So it's not going to be that easy.
Go ask the FBI, I mean.
Yeah. Or Baltar for that matter. I'm sure he'll be glad to show you.
Yeah,
Especially if you're pretty.
So in summarizing my the three people I converted, they can be summarized in it was 3 different ways that they because my first friend, I talked to him about what I was using, and then he gave me his mailing address, so I sent him a copy. The other one, 15 years ago or something, this is a friend that I got to know in Trondheim, and then he moved back because his studies was finished. Sometimes he calls me and we can have 6-hour phone calls talking about nothing but Linux and things he need to do. But before he started using Linux, he had some problems using his Windows machine. And I, in the first few calls, I told him that I often couldn't help him because I didn't use Windows myself, and that intrigued him somewhat. So he started asking questions, and after the course of a year, then he started asking what Linux I was using and why I was using it, and then he started. So I told him how to burn a CD if he was using that, and later how to put it on a USB stick. And my brother was the latest addition to the Linux family. Because he was visiting me every now and again, and he's quite probably just saw the computer I was using and what I was using, and he saw that I was happy with it, and he never really asked the questions about it. And then one day he called me and said that someone had given him an old MacBook. And he wanted Linux on it, and if I wanted to install it, yeah, sure. And he was so happy about it that all the computers he had subsequent to that has always been the Linux, and I am his support line. So now I have I explained to him what this was for before I made this. But so I made a shell script that he can run that logs in using a SSH key to my server in Oslo, and then it opens a tunnel into his system so that I can remote in and help him with things. Often it is about his printer that's acting up every now and again.
Yeah. Kind of on the lines of people being intrigued when you say you don't run Windows. When I was at the writers conference a few weeks ago, we were talking to one of the workshops I was in was working with an editor, and she's like, I only use Microsoft Word, so you can only send me stuff in Microsoft Word. And I was like, well, and I did a video on Writing Done Right. And if you have not seen, I've relaunched the Writing Done Right channel. And on that channel, what I addressed, I took this and I said, well, she doesn't mean that you have to using Microsoft Word. She just means you have to be using the Word document file type. And so actually I did a video. I'll go ahead and put it in the chat here. But I did a video talking about working with an editor if you don't use Word. In other words, if you don't use Windows and you're writing a book and you need to work with your editor, what are they going to do? And the video I did on Writing Done Right last week will kind of address that question. So that's in the comments here, or in the live chat here rather. And so that video there, I look at both LibreOffice and OnlyOffice, working with all the different ways, and we look at we basically look at all the functions required for it. Mitchell would like to rather focus on convincing Linux users to use FOSS software instead of proprietary, and to support FOSS developers with bug reports, funding, and kindness. That's a good step too.
Yeah, but that argument only works on people who care about the difference, because the world is full of people who really don't care about the issue. They just want to use what works, and if it's something that's bad for them, they don't care.
Yeah, and I had a few questions on Writing Done Right the other day about, OnlyOffice, because he says it seems to come out of nowhere. Is it really all that good? So I mean, just looking at the editing stuff, it still lacks a lot of stuff. I mean, I see when people are coming out and saying OnlyOffice is the best Office replacement tool, I think you're painting Linux in a bad light, or not Linux necessarily, but FOSS software, because OnlyOffice is missing a ton of features that LibreOffice has. And it's still a young program, so we have to be aware of that. It's just, when we see videos saying about this is the best Office suite, ever, there's a ton of stuff missing. Like, I'm sure if you're just opening up basic documents and typing them out, sure, it feels the same because it looks the same. But let's try and do some editing with search and replace looking for paragraph tags. Oh, you can't do it, apparently. And so I don't know. And I was looking for the email because I was corresponding with them at one point in time. I wanted to let them know the things that I found most recently, but I can't find the email now. So I don't know if it might be a black void trying to email them through their basic contact forms, but I'll see if I can find it. It might be floating around somewhere. All right. I think we'll kind of wrap this one up here. Final words, Ivan. Let's start with you. Final words.
It's like, should we convert people? Well, we should be open to the idea of converting people. And like I was saying way back at the beginning, it's like, take it as a case-by-case basis. It can certainly be done. And it's like, making sure that they understand that you're not going to destroy their computer or anything like that. You can take it carefully, and just kind of like ease them into it and kind of help convince them that maybe something they might want to try and still have what they've got going on safe over here, and that they come back and grab it if they really need to. But it's like, keep yourselves open, and because it's not a hey, if you try to touch this, you're going to be stuck in it. No, it's definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely to be something to definitely toy with or tinker with, to try it out, and and if you know somebody that can actually help you with it, then more power to you. Go for it. Enjoy it.
All right, Salbu, thoughts?
Yeah, we should try, but we should always also keep in mind that when they are curious, or when a window opens, that we have a chance to convert them, we need to remember that we need to explain things on the level that they are at. Because if they already are a computer expert, then you should be prepared to show them how to do things in the command line, because actual computer users do a lot in the command line. Even the Windows default, I think PowerShell is the default command line now. It is very powerful, and it can do some of the things that a Linux terminal can do. But if they are a home user and don't really care about doing advanced things, they just want to read their email, play their games, and so on, then it's a mistake to tell them how to do things in the command line. Because the way, but you need to tell them, you need to show them how to open the command line, because when they're after a while starting to ask questions or search for a solution to something, and they find a solution on the internet that is actually the issue that they're having, and someone has solved it, they need to be prepared to know how to open the terminal, because the answer most likely is run this in the terminal, and you have to show them just how to do it, and most likely they won't have to. So you have to tailor the guidance to their level.
That's how developers really, help people fix their computers. Developers don't do no GUI stuff. I figured that out working with the few that I do with Peppermint. I mean, one told me he almost don't even use a desktop. If he wants to open something, he opens the terminal and runs the thing he wants to do in the terminal, whether he wants to bring up a video player or whatever. But
I remember Richard Stallman a few times said in one of his
developers are just
talks,
like that.
Richard Stallman said once when he was explaining the different ways of how to use the computer, he explained that he almost never opens anything other than Emacs, because all he ever needs to do, including playing music and so on, he can do in Emacs. So some people are actually saying that a properly installed Emacs client can be function as an operating system. So
nice. Dan, any final thoughts? Other ones?
Yeah, most of the people that I've run into that want to try Linux will want it to do something entertaining or something of that nature. They don't care how it works underneath, and they don't really care about terminal commands or anything like that. They just want to turn it on, open a web browser, watch a movie, look at some pages, put a CD in the DVD drive and listen to some music, or run Spotify, listen to some music. It's that's what they're into, and you run into somebody, one of your friends or something like that, you should say, how are the Windows updates treating you? I can fix that. And really, that's been my experience of trying to get people to run Linux. They just want it to. They want to use Linux as a tool to open things that they want to normally do on Windows.
Yeah. And for some people, Windows is the proper operating system for them to use, because there are some hardcore gamers who all they do is game. They don't do anything else. And anything else they do internet-wise, they do on their phones. And those kinds of people, I have a friend who is like that. He doesn't spend too much money on games, but all the games he wants to play are either available on a console such as Xbox or Nintendo and so on, or it's available on Windows. But the games he wants to play is hard to get working on Linux, and he is not the kind of guys. He has never seen a command prompt ever in his life. So some of the problems you have to solve in order to make some of the games work in Linux, you have to open a terminal and get your hands dirty. He's not going to do that. And there are a lot
of these games that I know, I mean, they're at a unhealthy part of this, where they get up, game, and go to bed, and occasionally eat and use the bathroom in between. That's all they do. They don't even go outside to see if the sun came up.
Yeah, my friend is like that.
Yeah, well,
that's kind of nuts, though. I mean, I game too, but I limit it to a few hours a day maximum.
They'll figure it out when the internet stops working and all their games stop, because they're just relying on AAA titles that have to ping the internet.
Well, not all the games use the internet. You download the 160 gigabytes worth of game, and
the people that are okay. I mean, I'm trying to joke around, but never mind.
Real gamers always keep a few backup games that'll run without the internet.
Yeah. In that case, yeah. I mean, they'll figure it out when they go outside, open up the doors, and then the nuclear winter's out there, and they're like, "What happened?" And they'll have to go find a Twinkie and a cockroach or something to eat.
Yeah, the problem is with games that are coming out in the last few years is that even single-player games, there are a few games that are single-player only. You don't ever need the internet, in order for them to run. But they have some DRM or something that requires you to always be online when you are playing the game. And if the internet drops out, or the server is down for maintenance, then the entire game stops. And so
nice. All right. So I guess my final thoughts are, I mean, I'm not 100% sure absolutely everybody has to switch. We should let people know, though, where we stand, what we use, and why. I think that's important. And then just, let the chips fall where they may. Don't lose friendship to the fact that your friends use Windows. But
we should approach this as
quick agreement.
But anyway, we'll wrap this one up here. I have a new video dropping on Our Walk in Christ tonight. If you are into the Christian stuff, we are beginning a new prophet, the book of Habakkuk. We'll be looking at chapter 1, God Will Judge the Nation. That will be premiering at 9 o'clock. I put the link in the chat, so you can find it on over there. But that is for our Prophets series, and we are starting a new one this week. So if you're into such things, then go for that. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow on this channel on the weekly news roundup, and we will be back for that. And then I'm going to shoot to have, I have a few videos in the hopper that I'm going to put one up for a Saturday premiere. I will not be there for the premiere of it. I am busy and traveling, but I should have a video up for you guys tomorrow. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.